of a Christmas vacay, so I will be filling in for him. Behind me is Mighty Joe Young,
Hey
the one, the
yo,
only. How you doing, buddy?
pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Just getting everything ready to rock and roll here. We also got Dennis Stick on the line. Dennis, how you doing out there?
I'm good there, Jakey. I'm good. Just getting ready to get going here. Excited for the Fed. I'll tell you, I could not sleep last night. I was
Oh
too
man.
excited for the Fed. I literally was having nightmares that they came out and raised interest rates. I don't know if that's going to happen or not,
Wow.
but
Be
I
afraid,
don't think
Dennis.
that's
Be
going to happen.
very afraid.
Be very afraid of the Fed today. At 2 o'clock, we will find out
What
what
are you
the
thinking
interest
for
rates are.
the Fed today, then, Dennis?
Um, I was looking at some reports. 1 out of 10 analysts think that the taper is going to start today, so it's pretty low likelihood that they're going to taper. But obviously, the next meeting could, obviously get into that as well. I know Joel was thinking that Bernanke wanted to go with a bang here, and maybe he will start the taper, but I'm not sure I believe that. I think we're just going to see more of the same language, obviously, concerning, and that's going to be the major concern. I do not think they're going to taper today.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, it should be interesting to see. I mean, it's obviously a huge Fed meeting with this being Bernanke's last run through. Definitely something to watch there. We do have a lot going on this morning, though. Dennis, I'll kind of let you take lead here. I know that there was the big, uh, you know, uh, CVS announcement this morning with them returning cash to shareholders. We had some big headlines there. I'll do a quick rundown of that. I don't know what you're thinking about this one, Dennis, but I'll grab the charts here. I know they bumped up their dividend, they raised their guidance, they grabbed an increased buyback. They basically just did everything they could here. Dennis, what do you think of this one? I know
Yeah,
we're not seeing a whole
CVS.
lot of reaction this morning.
No, and CVS usually, like we know just because we trade so much pre-market, usually CVS doesn't have a lot of pre-market action. Even when they report earnings, they don't typically have a lot of action unless it's a real blowout. So here we're looking. They did raise guidance 436 to 450 versus 447. They did increase the quarterly dividend here as well. Seems like everybody's doing that lately, increasing the quarterly dividend here at the end of the year. 22 and a half cents up to 27 and a half cents. Investors are liking it because it is bid up here in the pre-market. It's bid at 67.35 right now. Went out at 66.81, which is actually right on the lows, so we're leaning the wrong way on this thing. But no trades to report yet as of yet. The best offer is up at 68.19. I'll tell you, up there, that whole $68 level, we've been up in the 68s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last 6 trading sessions, and every time we have failed to really get above that area. So definitely some resistance up there in the 68s.
Companies beat on earnings for the last five reports. This is both on top and bottom line. So it's been definitely some pretty impressive performance. Looking at some of the analyst ratings on them, I'm seeing there's not a single company that has a sell on them in the last eight most recent ratings. The rest are buy equivalents. We've only got three hold equivalents. So analysts are definitely pretty excited about this one. Um, but I
We've
did.
got
Yep. Sorry.
lots other movers here too. S&P futures relatively quiet here overnight, Jake. 1782.75. So actually, I'm quoting. Joel's going to yell at me for that if he's listening to the show because I had my December still on there, which is obviously still trading. No, we're in the March. It's 1776. I haven't saved my layout yet, so I bring up my layout and it's still quoting the December. Got to save that layout. The March is had a high of 1780, low 1772. I know Joe was looking at that whole 1778 area as resistance, so call it 1780. That's probably where you're going to have a little bit of resistance here again. We did have the little bit of a sell-off there yesterday, so if anybody's nervous and they get a chance to get out relatively flat from yesterday up in the 1778, 1780 area, they might be looking to take some stock off ahead of the Fed. Obviously, after 2 o'clock, all levels and all bets are off because it depends on what the fundamental news is and what they're saying out of the Fed. We always know technicals take a back seat when fundamentals come out.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, anything from the Fed this afternoon is just going to kick the markets around. That's really what everybody's concentrating on here. But probably should take a look at gold contracts here as well. Going to pull them up on the chart. Just getting used to this platform real quick.
We're up a buck.
Yeah, it's nothing too crazy. I mean, we've had that kind of breakdown since November, but it should be interesting to see with the whole Fed decision what that kind of does to it. Dennis, we've been sitting in this range between 1,200 and 1,300 for, how long has this been now? I guess we've broken a little bit above 1,300 back in, early or late October, and was at late September is when we were above 1,300. But it seems like we've been sitting in this range for the last, was it 6 months? What do you think of gold? Do you think there's a chance for it to break out? I mean, does it take a crazy Fed decision for this to happen? Does it take, maybe this supposed market pullback that everybody's expecting? This whatever this 8% pullback that a lot of people are calling for. Is that what it's going to take for gold to rally, or what do you think it's going to be?
I don't know what the catalyst is going to be. If the market did start to sell off, that can get a lift to gold sometimes here. But all I can tell you, what the technicals are saying is that we have major support down there in the low 1220s. We've been down there multiple times. We keep bouncing off of that area. We're sitting here at 1232 right now on the Jan futures. So we've got good support below here. If we ever take out that 1220, 1215 area, then I think, you could end up going down and retesting the 1200 or even lower. But support is support until it's broken. 1220 has been huge. And then resistance has been fairly well defined too. Multiple times we have been up in the 1250 area. I know we took it out there a week and a half ago, got up to like 1265, but 1250 in November was topped out multiple times. Early December, we topped out just under 1250. And just like a few days ago, we were topping out 1250 as well here. So resistance pretty well defined up at 1250, support pretty well defined down at 1220. We'll have to see if the Fed can take us out of that range or if we're just going to chop around in that range again.
Another one I want to kind of go over here real quick is light sweet crude. Just want to get the contracts in there. Seeing 97.68 is what we're looking at right now. We've had that breakdown over the past couple of months, although a nice jump up very recently. Still sitting below that $100. In fact, sitting below 98 even. Do you have any thoughts on crude here as well before we kind of go into more individual equities?
You had the big run in early December where we bottomed out and kind of took out a low there late November, was shaking people out. And then you kind of had that V bottom reversal there right in late December. And obviously we popped up, and then we had the run there in the first week of December where we ran from 94 to 97 very, very quickly. We've had a pause, we've had a consolidation period really here. And a lot of times technicians will look at the initial move, which was from like 92 to 97. And then when you get a pause of, a couple of weeks here, basically trading between 96 and a half and 98 and a half, call 97.40. So we're kind of right in the middle of that whole consolidation. A lot of times we'll look at the initial move and say, well, there'll be a continuation of that move after the pause. So that would push us up over the $100 area, possibly up to 102 if that did happen here. Obviously, it's all going to depend a little bit on the Fed will move everything around
Oh yeah.
today. I mean, we're expecting every asset to move after 2 o'clock here. But if you're looking, from a pure technical perspective, taking fundamental news out of the equation here, I think it's a pause. I think it's a pause, and I think eventually, if we can get up above $99 and start breaking out again, we could make a run for that 102 area.
So Dennis, when you guys are looking at something like the Fed, this is just kind of more off the wall question, I guess. Do you guys trade into it? Do you guys stop trading an hour, 2 hours before it? Like I know it can just be pure chop leading into one of these meetings, or just you can obviously get caught in a position that's as unfavorable as humanly possible. What do you do? Do you guys take it all off the table at like 11 a.m.? Do you guys continue trading into it? How does that work?
Depends on your time frame on the trade. Any scalp or short-term day trade or technical trade that I have on, I will usually try to hedge those at least, like get
Hmm.
it hedged with something else. So I mean long and short equivalent dollar amounts. So I try and take obviously the risk, of the market movement out of the equation there. So hedging more than anything, we like to be pretty flat or hedged going into the Fed. Sometimes back in the day, you take speculative positions. You think you're a hero there and you think you can call it, or you get a feel for the market. I don't have a lot of feel this time because we've obviously been up there at that whole 1805, 1806 area. We're 30 points off the highs here. So they're a little bit nervous here going into this. But any type of, comments that are just kind of basically the same as before might, cause this market to rally. If obviously they're coming in and taper today, I think the market's going to sell off on that, but I don't think that's going to happen. So I think on this one, I'm sitting on my hands. I'll probably get pretty hedged there, 10, 15, 20 minutes before the actual report, and then take it through. And then usually what you'll see is some head fakes. So right after 2 o'clock, you'll see a spike or you'll see a dive, one way or the other, depending on what the headline is. And then often you'll see the initial move, whichever way it goes, and then you'll see it pull back and give back a lot of the gains or go the other way, the losses, depending on what the initial move was. And that's called like a head fake. And then it's important to watch where the next move comes, because if it starts going back in that direction, then you're starting to get a feel for, okay, well, that's going to be a good report here. They like this news. But just because it comes out and just because moves one way quickly doesn't mean it's going to continue that way. It's probably going to chop. Liquidity gets very low around these meetings. So that's why you have so much chop, because everybody's doing the same thing. They don't want to sit there limit orders out there. They don't want to get picked off if then all of a sudden they tapered. You were sitting there bidding at 1770, you're picked off and it's trading 1760 on you. So that's why liquidity, if you look, even Nanic sometimes posts those charts up there, those liquidity charts. Liquidity drops like 90% around those Fed announcements, like the few minutes before and the minute or two after, until everybody figures out what's going on. Then new liquidity comes in because traders are pulling orders, and high frequency traders are all pulling their orders. They're obviously your major market makers out there, the high frequency guys, and their returns are very low, so they've got to control their risk. And by sitting orders out there when a Fed announcement comes, you have that adverse selection risk, the risk of getting picked off. So liquidity will drop right after 2 o'clock. So watch the head fakes, and then all of a sudden, a few minutes after, then we start nibbling in there again.
Fair enough. It's definitely something you want to watch for. I mean, whether you're a short-term or a long-term trader, something like this, these Fed announcements can just kick you around. So I appreciate you giving us kind of a heads up on how you look at things there. Moving over, from more of these, overarching general topics, more to some individual equities. I figure we can got to get started with, what kind of earnings we saw yesterday, and specifically one that's just getting absolutely kicked in the teeth this morning is Jabil Circuit. Company
Yeah.
reported a first
Oh,
quarter EPS of 51 cents versus a 55-cent estimate. Revenue came in at 4.61 billion, which actually beat estimates of 4.49 billion. The problem is that the guidance was not so hot. Guiding,
what is that guidance, Jake?
oh
Holy
man.
cow, I'm looking at it. Give us the guidance.
So Q2 EPS of 5 cents to 15 cents. Street was looking for 54 cents. It's
Wow.
guiding sales 3.5 billion to 3.7 billion. Street was looking for 4.35 billion. This company is basically
Wow.
saying the second quarter is absolutely not even comparable to what they were looking at. This caused Brent to just dive in. I see him rolling over. So Brent, hop in anytime you want.
I was just going to add that the company is also going to divest its aftermarket services unit for 725 million in cash. So maybe they need a little cat. I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but
What's interesting is that that doesn't even seem like it's that much money when the company brings in, let's just round it to 4 billion, a quarter in revenue, and it's selling a major business for under a billion there. I mean, it's under a quarter of what its revenue is, and I don't know. I don't think traders are liking this. The best part is Jabil Circuit announced a $200 million buyback plan, which traders I think just laughed at as absolutely pitiful compared to what the kind of losses they were seeing. Shares were down 12% after hours yesterday. Last time I looked this morning, they were down over 18%. We do have I'll pull that JBL chart. It's Juliet Bravo Lima for anyone following along on their own chart. We had a pair of analyst ratings out on this morning as well. One was a downgrade from Citigroup to a sell rating, dropping that price target to $14. I mean,
Thanks, Citigroup.
we saw that just below $20 yesterday. We were in the 15s today. Citigroup chasing after that. I think more entertaining is Stifel Nicholas maintaining a buy on Jabil Circuit and lowering that price target to $24 from $26. So they're still a little out of their price range there. I'm kind of confused. Looks like we just got another rating from Longbow Research, downgrading them to a neutral and removing that $25 price target. So Jabil Circuit just getting absolutely hammered on this report.
Can we get the pre-market chart up there, Jake? Do you know
Yeah,
how
let
to
me
do that?
see how I can pull
Joel
that
usually
up.
runs the charts. We'll see if Jakey can. We'll put him on the spot here. See if
a
he can
little
get a nice
test.
pre-market chart here on Jable.
Yeah,
Because
we're,
it
we're
has been
auditioning for
ugly here.
we're
I'll tell you.
auditioning for
Oh, here we
Joel's
go. All right.
replacement, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I'm seeing 1640 is the last trade there in the pre-market. Does that look right to you over there, Dennis?
Yeah, it's trading
1640.
1635 right now.
1635. Yep,
Just
there we go.
ticked down to here. If you get that pre-market chart, though, I believe it was actually lower than this earlier on. I don't
Yep,
know if you can kind of, but
sure
I think
was.
it
I'll
got into
zoom
the
in. Oop,
15 handle
too
there.
far.
Yeah, so it's been absolutely destruction. I mean, it's one thing to lower guidance. It's another thing to just basically lower it and 5 cents to 15 cents, and estimates are up at 54. The stock's going to get killed if they go 45 to 50, and the estimates are 54. This is 5 to 15. This isn't even in the realm of
It's
being
not
close on
even
the
in the
guidance.
ballpark. It's absolutely brutal. Look at that volume right at 8 a.m. too. I mean, you're looking at was that over 80,000 shares right at 8 a.m. traded. I mean, there's a lot of volume going on here. This is gonna I think this is gonna be a
It's
rough day
ugly.
for Jabil Circuit. I
We're
mean,
talking
Yeah.
we're talking 700 million in lost market cap today.
that's a huge just. I'm gonna jump out to a monthly chart and just see if we can find. Oh, all right. So I guess if you look out at back in 2009 or even farther back than that, you're gonna start seeing some lows that we're nearing. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I've got a couple levels that I was looking at here. If you even go just to 2011, we had a couple lows. In the week of September 30th, we bottomed out at 1493. And then in the week of August 31st, which was just the week before that, we actually bought, or actually these are monthly, sorry. So in the month of August 31st, I don't have the specific day there, 1394. So we're going back a couple years here, but this is taking out levels all over the place here right now. This is just an ugly report. So you're probably like we're just looking even if we're looking to the recent trading action here, just from the last year. We're obviously taking out the recent lows of 18, but if you go back just into the weekly charts, in April we did get down into the 16 handle. We got down to 1639 back in April 19th, the week of that. So you're kind of trading in that vicinity right now. There was multiple bottoms earlier in October in that whole high 16s.
mhm.
So as we trade below that, now that can become some resistance too. So I think this thing's going to struggle here today. You could get a post earnings or post guidance drift down here on this one as well. I mean, when a company comes out and they did miss earnings too, 51 versus
Yeah.
55, but then a lower guidance. I mean, what's the hurry to come in and buy this thing? It's not like, they're already telling you it's not going to be good. So I think there's definitely in Citigroup downgrading it to sell today too. So much bad news all over this Jable circuit here that I definitely don't know if I want to be picking bottoms on this one.
I mean, you do have that level set by. I mean, if you want to trust Citigroup on this report, you have their price target of
14,
$14. If you want to set
$2
that,
lower.
yeah, if you want to set that as the floor, I mean, sometimes you'll get a relief rally, but I mean, there was nothing good about this report. They're getting rid of a unit. They guided absolutely abysmally, and they missed on earnings, and they're getting analyst downgrades. So it's pretty brutal there.
Yeah, and other reports here too, some bad ones. Pay, which is Verifone Systems, they also reported earnings there, Jakey too.
Hmm.
27 cents versus 26 cents, so PAY did beat by a penny. 432 million versus 421 million, so they beat on the top and they beat on the bottom, but Pay is lowering full year guidance for 2014 as well.
Uh-oh.
35 to $1.40. Analyst estimates were up about a buck 56. Sales were in the around 1.77 to 1.8 billion. Analyst estimates around 1.79 billion, but not looking good here for Verifone shareholders either. The stock has actually been beat up pretty good here in the pre-market. It's trading down a buck right now, right at 24 on the kisser.
Hmm.
Interesting enough here, if you're looking at the charts, we've had multiple lows back just in mid-November. We got down to 23.92. We also got down to 24 and then 24.10. So multiple times in this whole $24 area. That was old support or old resistance before too, because in September and October we struggled and struggled to get through the 24. Finally did break out, came back, technically classic here, because came back, tested the old resistance, which became support 24. We are retesting that here this morning. So that $24 area needs to hold. Below 23.92, there's a lot of air below.
I think it's interesting to take a look at this one. We have another Citigroup report on, Pay or Verifone here, maintaining their neutral rating and putting their price target to $27 here. With this trading at 24 right now, I mean they're neutral, but they've got a bullish price target on it. I thought that was kind of interesting that they're staying, more bullish in general on the reports that we saw yesterday after the close.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think the $24 area, I think that's the big number you need to hold here. FedEx too here,
Oh
they
my.
reported this morning, and wow, this one actually got really beat up. If you can bring up the pre-market chart here, this thing was trading down like $5 when they reported. It's actually bounced back almost all of it here. The report was light. They missed on both the top and the bottom lines, 11.4 billion versus 11.43 billion, and a buck 57 versus a buck 62 on the bottom line. So missing the top, missing the bottom, and actually, if you bring up that pre-market chart, I think we got down to Go try to hunt it down here, but I think we were down in like the 134s, weren't we there? You see that, Jake?
Yeah. I'm on the.
132.70. I've got a low of 132.70 from this morning. So actually, we were $7 lower here on this report. But look, we came all the way back, and FDX we're actually trading at 138.15 right now here. So we've come back $1
Bit
here
of a
on
recovery.
FedEx. I think you got that wrong. I think you got it.
Yeah,
You're
I
thinking
just
of
pulled up. I didn't realize I had hit O instead of X.
Oh, you're
That's
pulling a Joel. Joel
yeah.
always messes up like that with the
Jake's trying to
T-shirt.
give kisses instead of hugs. XO,
Oh
XO.
man,
So
Joe
you
with
see
the
some
zinger.
wild spikes there. It's been fairly wide trading here, only 97,000 shares, which is a lot for a $138 stock. But obviously the initial spike in or the initial fall shook a lot of people out down that 132.70. It's all the way back up to the 138.15. So interesting that it's come all the way back.
Brennan, you
You
hopping in here?
I'm hopping in here. I know you guys got a couple more earnings to talk about, but I do want to highlight some breaking news that we had around 8 o'clock. Velasys Victor Charlie India is going to be purchased by Harlan Clark at $34.04 per share in cash. That's almost a $2 billion deal. Shares of Velasys trading up. What do we got? 21% in pre-market.
yeah,
I see
You said
34.24.
you said they're getting bought for 34.04.
That's right.
Interesting. So it's trading above the
and
offer
it's
there.
The street maybe thinks there could be
Counter
a little
offer.
counter bid in there.
Sounds like it.
They seem like they always do that lately. They never used to do that back in the day. If it was 34.04 the price, the stock would go up to like 33, 33 and a half. They put a risk premium on the deal going through because a lot of deals sometimes they wouldn't go through. Sometimes there'd be antitrust issues or whatever.
Hmm.
But in
What
this case here, they're pricing a premium on it, saying maybe they will get a better bid. I guess. Yeah, I've seen that headline too. There, 34.04 in cash.
you
And
have
is
any
Harlan Clark? Is that public? What is Harlan Clark?
I don't think
Oh,
so.
I
yeah, I
think
don't
it must
recognize
be a
that name.
private company
I
because I
think it's
haven't never
private, yeah.
followed that company before.
Dennis, you got
So,
any ideas as to why you think recently the premiums have sort of been getting added to a lot of these M&A names?
I think it's just crazy market the last couple of
Yeah.
years. We've been in this crazy bull market, and you have seen, I guess in a few times you have seen new better bids come in on different companies. So maybe they're just, most of these deals are going through. There hasn't been as much risk of the deals not going through, and sometimes what you'll see is it'll trade up a little bit and then actually come back down as the deal approaches to the price too. So funny things happen on these things. But obviously it's going to trade near this price where it's trading right now. I'm just looking at all the tape, and this thing's pretty heavily trading right here at 34.20, 34.22. It's traded a total of 331,000 shares here, so it's kind of priced in this market here. Maybe it falls back a little bit from here, but you never know. Like you said, if a better deal comes on the table, it could take off too. So this is one it's hard to trade. I usually like to trade the other stock if it's getting taken over for cash, but Harlan Clark ain't public or isn't public there, so
Nice little
um,
bump for the investors there though. So,
oh
you know,
yeah,
blasting
that's
through that $30 level, and
that's
yeah.
one of your leaders on the day. It's up 21%. Your one that's up the most here is SYNM.
Ooh,
Looking at the
SYNM.
leaderboard.
Syntrolium.
Yeah,
Nailing it.
Central. And what's the news on that one, Brent? You got that?
Yeah, it says Reggie Renewable Energy Group, that's Romeo Echo Golf India, announcing a bid for Centrolium. I believe that was last night. Let's see, Centrolium
Oh
holders
yeah.
will get 0.3809 Reggie shares for each SYNM share.
Yep, it's a total of 3.796 million Reggie shares. So it's a common stock acquisition here. So you got to think that the renewable energy group shareholders are loving this because they're just buying a company with shares and not with cash. I guess that could be a little dilutive, but you're looking at any time where your company can manage to buy someone else with shares rather than cash. I would think shareholders are gonna reward them for that.
As traders, we always like these pure merger deals because you could trade the two companies against each other. Basically, SYNM will now trade 3.796. Is that what you said the ratio was?
It
3.796
was
shares?
yeah. What was the ratio there, Brent? I know you had that right there.
It is, pulling up the handy dandy
Yeah, I
pro
think it's
feed,
3.796.
3.796 million shares.
Yeah, which is the
Yeah, so
total.
SYNM will trade basically at 3.79, or they're getting 3.796 million. Well, that can't be right. Hang on a second. Because if they're getting, I'm just trying to read it there too. to receive a total of 3.796. Oh, that's not the ratio. That's how
Oh,
many
the
Yeah,
shares.
that's the
excuse me,
total
the
shares.
ratio was 0.3809.
There you go,
That's better.
0.3809. So it'll trade, 'cause I'm going to say it, I've put it 3 times. So 0.3809, just
Hmm.
so that our traders
Yes.
get that ratio right. That's what it's going to trade off of. So 0.3809 times SYNM equals the Reggie price. So Reggie will be your leader there. So keep an eye on, obviously, Reggie for if you want to know where SYNM is going to trade. Now, back in the day, our firm at Break Trading, we used to always do these merger arbs. We would actually trade these two companies against each other. It's kept so in line by the high frequency market makers now that there isn't just enough opportunity
Ah,
there as there used to be
right.
anymore. Anything pure arbitrage like this, or this is called risk arbitrage, but anything like this is pretty monopolized by the high frequency
Just
traders now.
evaporates right away.
Yeah, they come in and they basically just keep it. Like the way I used to trade these things is I would make markets outside outside one of the companies, and like I filled on it, then I would hit the other side of it and
Hmm.
sometimes scalp 10, 15, 20 cents. And I used to trade these things exclusively. Like I can remember trading JP Morgan Chase Manhattan when they back in 2000, I think it was like 2, when JP Morgan bought out Chase Manhattan Bank, and the ratio was 3.7 to 1. So I could trade basically 700 shares to 200 shares, and just do difference of 1400 to 4. That was the ratio. So that's like 7 to 2 kind of was what it worked out the best. And basically, when all of a sudden JP Morgan or Chase Manhattan would move 50 cents, that meant basically JP Morgan was going to move $2. So even off of like Fed announcements and stuff, all of a sudden you could get Chase Manhattan down 50 cents, whack JP Morgan down only a buck, and you instantly know you're going to get a buck on the JP Morgan. But those things are so priced so efficiently now. That's one thing high frequency trading has done, is it makes stuff like this very efficient, like very efficiently priced. And it's like the pure arbitrage stuff is like instantly priced, in a millisecond, as opposed to back when humans were doing it back in the day. Sometimes it would take a few seconds to do it. So as a trader, you're disappointed you don't have those opportunities anymore. But as like a passive investor, you now have liquidity there that would, price the stuff correctly a little bit faster. So some of the high frequency stuff, some of the more predatory stuff we've talked about, obviously being concerning to the market. But some stuff like the pure stat arb and the merge arb stuff, I think that actually helps the market.
We did just have. I just seen Joel log on to Skype, so maybe we're gonna get
Oh man,
A little Joel alert here in a
I got
minute. I
a
don't know.
guest
He's probably
appearance.
coming in.
He's
He's gonna
missing
start.
us. He's like, man, you guys are doing the show so good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's probably jealous of how well this one's going.
Yeah, he'll just want to come on and find something to be critical of, probably.
We did have Chelsea asking about Lennar, and they had earnings.
Yeah.
Was it last night?
I think it was this morning actually.
Yeah, yeah, early, like 6:30 this morning, I
Lima
think.
Echo November for everybody that's following along with us there on their own. Do have our earnings. Oh yeah, I guess it came out about 6 this morning.
Okay.
The home builder reporting 73 cents versus 62 cent estimate. Revenues coming in strong as well, 1.9 billion versus the 1.88 billion expected. Now here you have a home builder doing well. It's definitely interesting to take a look at here because obviously this is a major economic indicator. What is a bigger investment or bigger throwdown of cash that an individual person could make other than buying a home. Very, very rarely will they put in more capital into something than a home. So when you see these home builders doing well, it's kind of interesting. What that could mean for for the coming Fed meeting. Dennis, what do you think of Lennar and some of these other home builders here? I just pulled up the intraday chart and it looks like it is pulling back a little bit off the highs this morning. It broke above that $36 level, spiking, almost to 37 before coming back down.
36.90.
Yeah, now we're back in that $35 range at the upper end. What are you thinking here?
Sometimes there's some overshoots here still. 36.90 was a bit early, but in the 37s, man, there's major resistance up there in the mid 37s. We were up there multiple times, 37.38, 37.39, 37.79. Call the whole area like 37 and a half. Major resistance up there. So whoever got buying up at 36.90, and you got to analyze this from like a risk reward perspective too when you're trading these things after hours on the earnings. I'm looking at like 37 and a half as major resistance. Well, if you're buying up 36.90 and you're running a resistance price, it's going to be 50, 60 cents higher. You're risking quite a bit there to try to pick up an extra 50 cents. So I don't know. That's kind of crazy buy up there. Trading down here now, 35.75. You never like to see a company come out beat on the earnings pretty good, 73 versus 62. Pop up solidly in the pre-market and then give most of the gains back. I never like to see that. Although in this case they beat so well, I would doubt this thing's going to go negative or anything like that. We just ticked up to 36 bucks here too. So I think resistance be well defined up there in the whole 37s, and support probably is going to come in at settlement 35.20 to 35 area. I know yesterday we had an outside day, got as low as 34.35, but the 35 area has been providing some support before that. But this stock has really been range bound. Like looking at all these home builder charts here, they're kind of all in the middle of where they have been for the basically the last 6 months. We were down the 31s in late in early September, and then mid-September we had this ridiculous run up to 37.5. Now we're kind of stuck in the middle. Bring up like the KB home chart,
All right. I
KBH.
just pulled
You
up
can
the
bring up.
XHB, which is the home builders ETF. So
Okay,
KBH.
well you can do that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, go into the individual ones because
Sure.
these ones are going to have sympathy moves here probably as well. KB Homes is trading up at 1730 right now, 1735. It just ticked to offered at 1730. But this is another one that's just kind of been hanging out. Yesterday's low in KB Homes 1670, so it's probably great support down there. But if you see Lennar still trading up a buck here once the 930 open is, a lot of these home builders will pull up in sympathy here. These things do move together. TOL is another one,
Mm-hmm.
Toll
Toll
Brothers, that we
Brothers.
like to watch.
Another
And it
interesting
has,
thing here, though, is we just got housing starts for November came in at 1.09 million versus 955,000 expected. I just heard Brent squawk on that, and building permits came strong as well. So not only do you have a strong earnings report from Lennar here to give them some strength, you also have housing starts and building permits both on the beating expectations. So just kind of interesting to see that happen. Maybe that'll be the kind of fuel that that traders are looking for to bid these up.
they're all getting bid up here in the pre-market. So you got KB Homes, which is 1735, like we were saying. Toll Brothers is trading just about flat actually, but it is bid at 33.60, so close at 33.40, which would put it up 20 cents, and nobody's whacking him. So that looks like it's going to move higher. Some nice resistance up there, just above 34 on the toll. Um, RYL
Yeah.
is another one you could look at. Ryland Group, it's trading up here about 50 cents actually right now. Somebody just 100 shares, so a very light trade. 39.59, it just ticked up too.
Mm-hmm.
So all these home builders, and if you're looking just resistance on that Ryland, probably up in the 40.35, 40.50 area. Major resistance up there for that one. But they're kind of hanging out here in the middle, and we want to see if you're trading any of these other home builders. Obviously, LEN is probably going to be your leader today, so keep that one on the board. It just ticked up to 36.50 actually.
Yeah,
So
it was actually really interesting. I saw definitely there were some bids sitting down there at like 35, 65 and stuff like that. They're expecting it to
yeah,
kind of drop below that, that 35, $75 level. And then you had you had 1,200 shares were sitting right there, and for the pre-market, that's a decent amount. If you're looking at some of the other size of the bids, some of them are coming in at 2 and 3 shares. So when you got 1,200 there, it's at least enough to give some strength. But it blew right past that bid as we got that report.
yeah, and we're best offered. We're bidding 36.21 right now. Best offer up at 36.40. So it does look like Lennar is going to show some strength. Keep an eye on that after hours high, 36.90, and the resistance we were talking about up in the 37 and a half area.
I know another earnings report we should probably hop into this morning was General Mills Gulf
Yep.
India Sandy reported this morning. Major company here. Definitely want to keep an eye on them for everybody following along. It's GIS. If you're following along on your own charts, company reported a Q2 EPS of 83 cents versus the 89-cent expected. Revenues came in thin at 4.88 billion versus expected 4.96 billion. Company did reaffirm its outlook, so they're not guiding any lower. But that earnings missed it. Kind of disappointed traders there. It ticked down close to that $48 level before bouncing a little bit. I'm seeing 48.50 was the last trade that kind of went through there. But a strong report could have busted it through that $50 level, but not looking like that's happening today. Sitting down on 48.50 right now. Dennis, what are you thinking here?
These food stocks have been disappointing here. Just if we look even to Campbell's about a month ago, remember CPB, they had their earnings report and went down on it. I think
Mm-hmm.
SJM, which is Smuckers, they had went down pretty about 3 weeks ago off their earnings report. They dropped $8 or $9, $108 down to $100. So some of these food stocks have actually been weak ahead of the reports. I think the Kellogg's, they already reported too, did they?
Uh,
The K report yet?
yeah, I think they did. Let's see.
Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to General Mills here. We'll try to get you some levels here because
Sure.
obviously we've had major resistance up there around 50 bucks. Stock for the last couple days tried to pop over 50, put in a double top at 50.12, 50.13, closed kind of weak there yesterday, and now obviously the report taken into the 48 handle. Great support down there at 40 in the mid 47s. I don't know if there's much before that or not, but if they really cascade these, and these food stocks, they typically don't sell off 2-3 bucks because they are lower beta stocks. They are more about the yield, and it's 3.07% yield, not huge, but they are lower beta and they don't usually move a ton. But I'm just looking at the charts here, and I think eventually, I don't know if it's going to see it today, this thing could 47.5 is where you got great support. So it's about a buck below here. So I don't know if I think if you're buying 48.5, I think you might get it cheaper. If you're looking at a level a little bit higher than that, Joel, usually likes to give you one that's closer. You had a
Hmm.
double bottom of 47.86 and 47.89 back on the 13th and the 14th of October. So maybe if you're looking at that whole 48 area, maybe they want to take it through 48, hit some stops. Maybe they can, buy it there in the 47.90 area. That might be a spot where it might start to find some support and bounce. But it's a pretty big miss, 83 cents versus 89. So they are taking it down here this morning. And like we said, Kellogg's is having a sympathy move here with it in the pre-market symbol K. Stock is trading down 34 cents right now at 60 bucks even. This one was leaning down too. It's been kind of weak here for the last 3, 4, 5 trading sessions. 60's been pretty decent support here. 59.92, the low back on October the 15th. Yesterday's low was 59.90. Starts trading below 59.90, then you start to open up a bit.
So another
Let's move
one,
on to a
yeah.
couple other ones here.
Uh,
Kraft. So just while I was talking about the food stocks here, you actually got Kraft this morning coming out though, and they are actually doing a $3 billion stock buyback here. So normally you'd say maybe a stock like Kraft could move down with General Mills, could move down with Kellogg's, but they've got good news of their own, which is helping that stock out this morning. KRFT trading up 74 cents right now at 53.18, went out at 52.43.
Yep, definitely. I'll pull up the intraday chart there. Yeah, you've got the 50. It broke through that $53 level, kind of an interesting break, but nothing really past that. Um, I do know that we're seeing a little bit of a move in Apple this morning. I don't know if you wanna hit up
Yeah,
that real quick.
we'll definitely get into Apple here in just one
Sure,
second. The craft, actually, I just want to give you a technical level
go
here
for
on
it.
the craft. 53.5 is really where it had run into some troubles there. I actually call 53.30. We had a double top 53.27 and 53.30 back on the 13th and 16th. So almost 2 days in a row. So you got a little bit of resistance. Then just above there around 53.60, you got some resistance too. So it looks like that's where it might struggle here a bit off the bat if you're trading the craft. But yeah, Apple actually, we should have probably started with that one off the hop. It's trading down 6 bucks here right now. On the China Mobile deal has not yet been announced. They obviously were speculating that this deal was already kind of done. China Mobile coming out this morning. They were thinking there was going to be an official announcement of this deal, and they said China Mobile says they're still in talks. So Apple, not shareholders, not liking that. They are knocking the stock down $6 today on those comments from China Mobile.
Yeah, definitely broke below that 550 level there. I mean, it's a kind of a psychological point there. It just blasted right through it, and now it's been fighting with that as kind of resistance to move above. But definitely seeing a lot of action there. Some smaller lots moving, but definitely a lot of action going on in Apple this morning. And that China Mobile deal has been talked about as the next big catalyst for Apple if you're going to move to the upside when you're looking at the fundamental story of the company. So not getting an announcement of that seems to be really disappointing traders this morning.
Yeah, and if you look here, this whole 553 area where we're breaking down from, we kind of put in a double bottom there, 553.67 and 553.37. So taking down through that area, this stock is actually it was consolidated for 3, 4 days there at 560. Took that out, find another couple of lows in the 553 area, took that out by 7 bucks, and here lo and behold, it's knocking it down another $7 here at 547.80. I believe we got down to 550, 544.50. So we've been about 3 bucks lower than this actually. The one concern here as we continue to break down is levels are sparse. We had this huge run up in late November from 520 all the way to 570, basically in like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8 trading sessions. We always say what goes up quickly once it starts coming through an area can go down quickly. Just not a lot of levels in there. We did bottom out. I'm just trying to find anything for you there, like 547.81 back on the 29th. But then if you start getting below there, we have a little gap. And the low on the day before that was 533. So you're kind of getting into a whole vacuum area here where there's just not a lot of levels. I don't know if they're going to knock another $10 off this thing or something today. But all depending on what the Fed says too. The stock relative weakness here is not looking good.
Yeah, I guess with some fundamental news knocking it down a little bit, if there's a a bearish Fed announcement, that could definitely knock it down some distance. I know Jim Cramer was screaming last night on his show that you got to look for your strong stocks today on the Fed announcement. I don't know, but uh, definitely something to watch
Yeah,
out for. I mean, there's kind of a I know a lot of people like to hate on Cramer, but he does have kind of a point there. If you've got a thesis on these companies, a poor Fed announcement isn't exactly going to change the company's strategy. It just changes the price.
we're getting a question from the Options House chat room there. We've got Bruce just asking about JKS if we've
Hmm.
discussed it yet. No, we have not. Brent, you got the headline? Is there a headline on JKS, Jinko
Here,
Solar?
I'll look into it. I don't know. Brent's kind of tied up at the second.
Oh, Brent's tied up
Yeah,
here,
just
but we are popping up here again on JKS. We had a big move up yesterday. Holy cow. Nice pop when we went from 26.62 up to 29.39. So Jinko Solar really taking off yesterday. Is getting follow through here today, up another 60 cents here, trading at 29.95. Obviously went out at 29.36. So some of these solar stocks actually were popping there a little bit yesterday, even looking like at the little ones like Trina Solar. I know I was looking at that one too. TSL. It had a huge run yesterday. Stock had consolidated for 3-4 days just below $12, and then just took off yesterday. Opened up at like 12.20 and ran a buck 30. So basically ran 10% intraday. I'm not sure. Was there really what was the catalyst yesterday for the
well,
solar
these are
stocks? I mean,
these are
was there?
all these are both Chinese solars. Brent, I don't know if you see anything on the Chinese solars from yesterday. We did have a lot of strength in JKS, Juliet Kappa or Juliet Kilo Sandy. If you want to pull that one up real quick and see if you can find anything. Just a lot of strength in the Chinese solars. Trina Solar up over 9%, JKS up
Yeah.
over 9%. Obviously, like you said, getting a little bit of follow through this morning. So
Hmm.
I'm not sure if we're seeing. Let's take a look at First Solar real quick and see if any of the
It wasn't moving
American
as much
solars.
yesterday as
Yeah,
and that's one of the bigger guns that typically
right.
doesn't move around as some of these little ones do. And
Let's
like you
see.
said, those were both Chinese ones here.
Right.
So
That's like kind of the divide in solar. It's like Chinese and non-Chinese, and yeah, not seeing as much move in Canadian solar either. So looks like it was a move in the Chinese solar specifically. One headline I saw on Jinko Solar there is it received like a Chinese Excellence and Citizenship Award, which I mean doesn't mean anything,
don't.
but for some reason a page picked that up. So just kind of it may just be someone piling into it. These are definitely momentum stocks. And once they pick up some momentum, they'll move in whatever direction they want to go in.
Yeah, that's what it is. Once one starts picking up momentum, the other one too. So a lot of times, if and that's what you do as pair traders. Sometimes you like to just crutch the trades off each other, and you'll see, okay, well TSL's taken off here. Maybe pick up some JKS, and sometimes those things do lag a little bit too. So I know that's just called sympathy plays.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm not sure which one led the way here yesterday, but both of these companies had fantastic days yesterday, and they were breaking out. You had a period of consolidation for JKS of 3-4 days and took off and broke out yesterday from that consolidation period, and the momentum just started going. And TSL was the same thing. TSL had multiple tops around 1250. Once it got over 1250, which was early in the trading session, it just took off. Never really looked back and ran a whole another dollar. So I mean, these things are momentum plays. Once the momentum starts going in one direction, they can really run. And I think you saw that both in JKS and TSL there yesterday.
Dennis, I know that we're going to be hopping into the morning headlines sometime soon here. I don't know if there's one more stock you want to take a look at before I kind of hand things off here. Any thoughts of a stock or two you want to hit up real quick?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind actually just if we just quickly looked at Tesla here because
Perfect.
TSLA had a big run yesterday too. The stock obviously has been, kind of turned ever since back that late
Look at that
day in
support at
November.
152. I guess not exactly 152, but it's really kind of staying away from that $152 level there, sitting like 50, 60 cents above it for how many sessions is that now? Very interesting. Or I guess
Well,
it's not sessions. I'd say it's just a couple hours. My mistake.
yeah, you're
Early in the
looking at the
intraday. Yeah.
last few
If
hours
I,
there. We kind of broke
yeah.
out yesterday, and we always look at these formations here. And when stocks kiss the same level that it did the day before, so basically, we looked 2 days ago, you had a low of 146.10. Yesterday at a low of 146.32. That's 22 cents away, but on a 146 volatile stock like Tesla, I'll call that a double bottom. So technicians look at that and say, oh, double bottom might be in here. Stock reverses off of that key level and just started running. And there was no real pullback here. So if you were sitting there and you decided to short, you know, 148, well, that didn't work. You try short 150, that didn't work. You try short 152, that didn't work. Stock ran at 154 basically in the course of 3 hours. So when from 146 to 154, up 8 points in 3 hours, you caught a few people there short for sure. Pulled back a little bit there to the 152.46 area. It's finding a home here this morning, just about flat at 152.50. But this has been a breakout, and we've been talking that the stock could eventually see 160 here. It's taking its sweet time getting there, but it's only now $7.50 away there. That's your next major resistance point is 160. And obviously stocks don't get there, you know, just on a dime, but it is trying to, it seems like making a run to fill up and get up to that 160 level.
Definitely something to take a look at. You know, Tesla, one of those wild trading stocks out there. So is there anything else? I know you had thrown in Facebook there too. I don't know if you want to take a look
I
at
wouldn't
that.
mind talking about
Yeah,
Facebook too,
let's
because
knock that
yesterday, and
out
I
real
try
quick.
to make some trades on this. I don't know why. I should never trade the stock. It's like my nemesis or something. But anyways, here, if we look at the chart from yesterday from Facebook, did break out through the 55, made a new all-time high. I told Joel if it came back through 54.80, I was going to short it. So I had to do that. I had to short the stock. So I shorted through the 54.80. It got all the way down like 54.24. So I was like, I'm feeling pretty good about that short. But then late in the day, rallies the whole dang thing back on me. And so, and I was putting on for a swing trade. So I was like going to give it to the high of 55.18. And I said, you know, I was going to cover basically down the 53 handle if it got down to there. It didn't quite get far enough down for me. So I decided, I was like, I'll take the overnight risk. I'm still holding it short right now. And I'm actually flat on it, 54.83. I'm going to stop out if this thing makes a new high, though, because when stocks are making new highs, you don't want to be short the thing. 55.18 was the high yesterday. So I might give it like a nickel or a dime, but above like 55.30, I'm definitely going to get out of that short. And if the high frequency traders are listening to me right now, maybe they'll run me. But 54.85 is where it's trading right now. So I don't know. This stock has just been on an incredible run. You had stocks like Twitter that were a little bit weak yesterday. LinkedIn had a very weak day yesterday. So I was hoping, my whole thought process was this whole thing that I had in my head, well, this was short term gain for long-term pain with this video ads popping in at you. And I just don't know if the users are going to love that thing. And I thought maybe somebody might comment on that and say, well, this can't be good for users. Nobody has came out and commented yet. So the stock's still sitting up here, 54.85, and I'm hoping for a pullback here. But I think when you're hoping, you're in trouble. So I figure I'll probably get stopped out on this one today.
Definitely. Well, I think with that, we'll I'll kind of close down what we're looking at for stocks for right now. I want to give a quick update on S&P futures up 3.5 points, 1776.50. Dow futures are up about 34 points at 15,844. Nasdaq futures up 5 points to 34.65.75. Gold is up, crude is up a little bit, and with that, I think we'll hand it off to Mighty Joe Young for some morning headlines. Joe, you ready to rock and roll here?
Oh, I was born ready to read editorial headlines from around the globe. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a little preview. We have Scott Moeller, the director of M&A Research at the Cass Business School, coming on in about a little bit under a half hour. We'll be interviewing him on the show. That'll be at 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. Moving into today's headlines. The two winning Mega Millions tickets were sold in California and Georgia, lottery officials said on Wednesday. The $636 million jackpot was the second largest lottery prize in U.S. history. Mega Millions lead director Paula Otto, who is also the Virginia Lottery's executive director, said 336 million in tickets were sold for Tuesday's drawing, surpassing a projected 319 million. Point of reference, they were talking to Ross Westgate on CNBC this morning about the lottery. Joe Kernan asked if they have the lottery over in England. They do, and the lottery winnings are tax-free. Bet you guys didn't know that. Yep, Shubs is nodding his head. Brent scoffs in disagreement. Chicago Tribune reports that Archer Daniels Midland, unable to secure the special tax incentives it sought from Illinois legislators, and is still expected to announce Wednesday that it will go forward with its plan to move its world headquarters to Chicago from Decatur. Sources familiar with the plan said the agriculture giant now looks to shift 60 to 75 executives to Chicago. That's down from the 100 jobs the company originally cited in its bid to win Springfield approval for special payroll tax incentives worth up to $30 million over 20 years. Additionally, a technology center staffed by 100 new employees that was part of ADM's public bid no longer is tied to the headquarters change, a source said. Its future was unclear. The average number of mortgage applications fell 5.5% on a seasonally adjusted basis as interest rates generally climbed from the previous week, the Mortgage Bankers Association said on Wednesday. Both purchase and refinance applications fell as interest rates increased going into today's Federal Open Market Committee meeting, said Mike Fratantoni, MBA's Vice President of Research and Economics. Interest rates generally rose during the summer months, which eased demand for new home purchases and refinancing. Recently, though, MBA has reported mixed interest rate trends. Facebook has acquired social startup SportStream in a bid to compete with Twitter as a source of real-time information and conversation around major events. SportStream, launched in June 2012 and owned by entrepreneur Paul Allen, aggregates social chatter and updates in a personalized social feed for sports fans, according to Mashable. In the report, the sports-based platform lets media partners, including teams, leagues, individual athletes, and media outlets create their own social media-fueled experiences, both for fans and for their own insight. Detroit News reports that nearly half of all added vehicle production in North America between now and the end of the decade will come from Asian automakers, according to an analysis from IHS Automotive. Asian automakers will add capacity to build nearly 1 million more cars and trucks between now and 2020. IHS analysis estimates that German automakers will add capacity to build about 700,000 more vehicles. Domestic automakers closed plants and shed production during the auto crisis, but have added back about 4 million units of capacity since 2009. Production from domestic automakers, though still rising, will fall slightly and level off by the end of the decade, but will be about 200,000 units less than current production volumes. Typically in North America, Jackson said, there are 30% more vehicles sold than vehicles produced, a byproduct of more imports. That number could shrink by 2020 to about 10%. Novelis, the world's leading supplier of aluminum sheet to the automotive industry, said Tuesday that it will pump more than $200 million into plants in New York and Germany to support increased use of aluminum in future cars and trucks. Upgrades at the plants in Oswego, New York and Natterstedt, Germany will boost the company's automotive aluminum sheet capacity to 900,000 tons annually, triple the capacity it had at the end of last year, by the end of 2015. Novelis has now invested $550 million during the last 2 years on auto-related aluminum expansions. Soaps and body washes that are labeled antibacterial have now come under fire by the FDA, as the government agency has submitted a proposed rule that will require manufacturers of such products to prove they are safe for long-term use. As part of a larger review by the FDA, manufacturers will also need to show how their products are more effective at preventing illness and the spread of infection than ordinary soap and water. If such companies are unable to meet these requirements, they will need to reformulate or relabel their products in order to keep them on the market. The U.S. Consumer Product Safety Commission announced a recall on Tuesday on the Hewlett-Packard Chromebook 11 power supply and charger. About 145,000 units are being recalled after Google received 9 reports of chargers overheating and melting, according to the report issued by the commission. One consumer reported a small burn, and there was one report of a pillow burning because of an overheating charger. When Google and Hewlett-Packard announced the Chromebook 11 in October, it made a big deal about the laptop's micro USB charger. The micro USB port, the same used to charge many smartphones, is used to power the Chrome OS laptop. Google is no longer selling the $279 Chromebook 11 at its Google Play Store or other retailers, but said in a statement that it will resume sales soon and that all packages will include the replacement charger. In other Google news, Google has introduced a new feature to its Google Glass, which allows users to take a photo with the wink of an eye. Google said the feature was faster than the camera button or the voice action and works even when the display is off. The update to Google Glass also adds a screen lock feature and the ability to upload and share videos on YouTube. Technology firms have been keen to capture the wearable gadgets market, seen by many as a key growth area. Imagine a day when you're riding in the back of a cab and you just wink at the meter to pay, the firm said in a blog post. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has officially announced next year's inductees. Nirvana, Kiss, Peter Gabriel, Hall & Oates, Cat Stevens, and Linda Ronstadt will all join the class of 2014.
Wow.
Yeah, the E Street Band will be given the Award for Musical Excellence. Yeah, they will. Late
Not
Beatles.
a fan, Joe?
No, notoriously not a fan of Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. Late Beatles manager Brian Epstein and the original Rolling Stones manager Andrew Loog Oldham will both receive the Ahmet I know how to say this. Erdogan. He's Turkish. In case none of you saw Ray,
Mm-hmm.
Ahmet is Turkish.
All right.
Now I lost my spot. Oh, the Ahmet Erdogan Award for Non-Performers. Membership in the hall will pass the 300 mark when the class of 2014 joins at the 29th annual induction ceremony at Barclays Center, and is the first year tickets will be available to the general public in New York City. Today's trivia tidbit. On this day in 1620, the British ship Mayflower docked in Massachusetts, and its passengers prepared to begin their new settlement, Plymouth Colony. The story began in 1606 when a group of reform-minded Puritans in Nottinghamshire, England, founded their own church, separate from the state-sanctioned Church of England. Accused of treason, they were forced to leave the country and settle in the more tolerant Netherlands. After 12 years of struggling to adapt and make a decent living, the group sought financial backing from some London merchants to set up a colony in America. On September 6, 1620, 102 passengers, dubbed Pilgrims by William Bradford, a passenger who would become the first governor of Plymouth Colony, crowded the Mayflower to begin the long journey to life in the New World. It's a shame that they showed up during such a chilly season, though.
No kidding.
Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, that this show would not be possible without our dear friends at OptionsHouse, who will offer you 150 commission-free trades just by signing up with an account through this page. There's links at the top and down to the bottom right. Click through, open an account, 150 commission-free trades on the OptionsHouse platform, just because you listened to Benzinga's pre-market info. And with that, where am I going next, Jake?
I'll take it from here real quick. Dow futures and S&P futures pulling back a little bit, still remaining up. NASDAQ futures up as well. Gold and crude haven't moved a whole lot since then, so not a whole lot to update on the indexes. I know Brent's got a ratings update for us this morning.
That's right.
Gonna throw us some of the top ratings from this morning. Brent, what do you got for us?
Why, thank you for that introduction, Jake.
For sure.
Let's see, let me go over some of the top upgrades we have this morning. We do usually talk about some upgrades. Let's see, we have Macquarie upgrading shares of Western Union, that is ticker Whiskey Uniform, from neutral to outperform. Over at Nomura, Total Systems, that is Tango Sandy upgraded to buy. JMP upgrading shares of Yamana Gold Alpha Uniform Yankee to buy, and JP Morgan upgrading shares of Pan American Silver, that is Papa Alpha Alpha Sandy, to neutral, removing that sell rating. Some of the top downgrades this morning: Bank of America downgrading shares of Avon Products from a buy to a neutral rating. JP Morgan downgrading shares of Kinross Gold from overweight to neutral. JP Morgan making a number of calls on the gold and mining names this morning. Compass Point downgrading shares of Tower Group Tango Whiskey Golf Papa from buy to neutral. Tower Group had some news, I believe it was last night, saying that they're going to be selling a 10.7% equity stake in Canopius. Shares are down. Just 1 second. What do we got? We are down 16% at last check, trading around 330, and that Compass Point downgrading definitely not helping anything this morning. And then following some really bad results yesterday, Juliet Bravo Lima downgraded at Longbow to neutral, and also downgraded at Citigroup to a sell. Citigroup reduced their price target on JBL to $14. Some of the top initiations this morning: UBS initiated coverage on shares of Rackspace with a neutral rating and $38 price target. Goldman Sachs initiating coverage on shares of Tower Watson, ticker Tango Whiskey, with a buy rating and $138 price target. JMP Securities initiating coverage on shares of Illumina ILMN with a market outperform rating and also a $125 price target. And then Stevens initiating coverage on Whole Foods with an equal weight rating. Stevens wants you to stay on the sidelines on that one. DaVita initiated with a new buy rating at KeyBank. And JP Morgan initiating coverage on shares of Crown Castle Charlie India with a neutral rating. That's going to do it for the upgrades, downgrades, new coverage, but I did want to highlight a Goldman call this morning on the casino and gaming group. Goldman Sachs boosting price targets on all of Wynn, LVS, and MGM. Let's see, Goldman maintaining buy ratings on Las Vegas Sands and Wynn. That Las Vegas Sands price target raised from $77 to $86. That Wynn price target raised from $183 to $201, and the target on MGM boosted modestly from $18 to $20. Quick heads up on some of the earnings that traders should be watching out for later today and also throughout the remainder of the week. It is actually a pretty decent earnings week. After the close today, we're going to get results from Oracle, big tech name there, and also from Paychex. That's ticker Papa Alpha Yankee X-Ray. Tomorrow we are going to get, if everyone's ready for all these names, I got a long list.
Oh boy.
Take a deep breath.
Okay. Tomorrow we are going to get Red Hat. We're going to get Rite Aid, Pier 1. We're going to get Nike, another home builder, KB Homes. We're also going to get results from Darden, that is Delta Romeo Indy, Cintas, ConAgra Foods, Alcatel, that is Actuant, actually ATU, and then also Accenture will be tomorrow morning. On Friday, we're going to get results from Walgreens, Navistar, CarMax, Finish Line, and on the radar for Friday is BlackBerry. What is BlackBerry doing today? I haven't watched BlackBerry in quite some time. 609. Jeez, oh Pete. Poor BlackBerry.
It's been a rough series of sessions for BlackBerry. I'm just kind of looking at the intraday chart. It was above 625 this morning, but backing up to the daily, it's just brutal. You had that it was holding above that 8-hour level for a little while, and then just dropped off. Dropped below $6 briefly, but has managed to get back above that.
That's got to be a good sign.
Yeah, 610.50.
I also have a Bloomberg report that CEO John Chen rejected calls for Bloomberg to exit the hardware business, giving a chance this week to convince investors he has the time and vision to revive a unit that's dragging sales down back to 2007 levels.
Wow.
That's from Bloomberg.
Rough time for BlackBerry.
Yeah, Jake, go back maybe to last week's chart. If you look at the $6 level, and there's just a ton of action around $6. You see on, what is this, Wednesday of last week, it kind of charged through $6, and then over Thursday's trading session, failed to take out that resistance level, and then yesterday kind of broke through that level, and it looks like we want to hold. Looks like the bulls in this thing want to hold above $6 in BlackBerry.
It would seem so. Speaking of companies that are hurting right now, we're seeing Ford just get crushed right now. I know we've had a couple of updates in the feed about that. Brent, you want to give us a quick rundown on Ford shares? Were down over 2% the last time I saw. I know they're down further than that now. Dennis is jumping up and down over there, telling me we have to hop on this one. So, what do you got on Ford here?
That was actually where I was going. That's why I said thank you. It was a nice little segue. So we did have. At 8:45, we had a release. The release was entitled Ford Expects Outstanding 2013 and Provides 2014 Outlook. Ford shares were trading lower. Didn't like it. Couple of the headlines there. Company is expecting a pre-tax profit for this year at excluding items about $8.5 billion. The 2014 pre-tax profit excluding items expected in the range of $7 to $8 billion. Doing a little math there, you can see that that 2014 number for profit is below the 2013 number. I'm assuming that's what the market is not liking here. Ford announcing it will take a special item charge of $850 million Remember, that's not going to affect the adjusted number. That is only going to apply to the GAAP number. Let me just look through these headlines really quick. I think there was another one that I liked. They did reaffirm something.
Oh
Let me
my, we have quite a battle at that
what?
$16 level right now. There's just wild trading going on right now.
Did
Volume
it
spiking.
touch 16?
It's at 1602 right now. I just saw it tick to 1601. So they're really fighting it out right there, the Bulls and the Bears. So I didn't mean to cut you off there, but
No, it's all good.
this could get real exciting here real quick.
And it was specifically for North American pre-tax profit. That was going to be 2013 levels. Just wanted to clarify that. Not sure if I don't believe that they gave global numbers. They did dive a little bit into European numbers. They did dive a little bit into China numbers. We have, let's see, Ford expecting 2014 U.S. industry volume. So this is across the entire automaker sector in the range of 16 to 17 million. European industry volumes will be in the range of 13.5 to 14.5 million, and in China, industry volume expected in the range of 22.5 to 24 million.
It's interesting because I know they, with there's two major sources of growth that a lot of, analysts and, long-term holders were looking for in Ford. There's Lincoln, which they haven't really gone after yet. They've been investing a lot of cash into that recently to try and make it a comparable brand to, say, Cadillac, because they're just revamping that whole brand. And then also you had the recovery in Europe that was expected. So interesting to see those European numbers. Looks like Ford got a bounce there at 1602. I'm seeing it at 1606
Yep.
now. It's in the green as, or at least right now that's what the bids are looking like. As looks like traders are bidding it up. It got smacked down back to 1604. So a lot of trading action going on here. I'm gonna have to back up a little bit to see what we can get for like support here, because we've been above $16 for it's
Quite so.
yeah.
No, I can't find it.
Yeah, I'm seeing. Let's see. I don't know if it's gonna let me go back farther. I might have to go to weekly to be able to see where we've been above 16.
You should be able to get on the day chart.
Yeah, I'm seeing above $16 since before October. It's been quite a while. So if we go below $16, you could get some serious action on this one.
Yeah, and look at shares of GM. Ford shares are down about 4% right now. GM shares are down about 1.5% right now. GM bounced at $41 too. It looks like.
Yeah, holding those psychological whole numbers there. 4102 is the last trade I'm seeing there. It really followed the same pattern that Ford did. We had one major stick down followed by a second, and then a lot of battle at the whole number. So GM obviously has had some bullish news recently, so it looks like that's kind of helping it hang on up there. But definitely interesting to watch here.
Ford touching a low of $16 on the nose, and GM shares hitting a pre-market low at 40.87, now bouncing just a couple of dimes there. 41.02 last trade in GM.
Brent, I know that we have that Chrysler IPO coming sometime soon. When is that expected again?
First quarter 2014, I believe.
All right, that's huge with all this. Then you get a third player in this space of American automakers. I mean, obviously you've got Toyota and Honda or whatever, but that's very different than the major American players. So it's gonna be interesting when we get another major American automaker back in the game, and then you have three moves on this. And I see Phil LeBeau on CNBC now talking automakers.
Phil.
So wait, I'll be sure to see if there's any headlines coming out of him.
We're big fans of Phil on the news desk.
Phil's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Did want to really quickly highlight some action in CVS.
Charlie, Victor, Sandy, they're going to pull that up on the chart for you.
Thank you, sir. We did have a release from CVS earlier. They announced some guidance. The guidance looked to be about in line to sort of at the low end of analyst estimates. They also announced a raised dividend. And then right now we are actually getting some comments from the company's CFO on an analyst meeting, getting a bit of updated guidance from that release that they issued a few hours ago. Company now says expecting Q1 adjusted EPS in the range of 96 to 99 cents. Analysts are down at 94 cents, so that Q1 guidance looking a little better than expected. Sales growth expected in the range of 2.75 to 4.25%. Shares of CVS. Looks like they want it.
They're really not doing a whole lot. I mean, they're sitting above that $67 level, but there really hasn't been much action this morning in CVS for, how big of news that seems to be. A
True.
$6 billion
Yeah, you're right.
buyback, raised guidance, and raised dividend. You'd think that would get things rolling, but maybe CVS is just not really a pre-market trader. I'm only seeing, was that
300 shares? Is
Yeah.
that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, I see a bunch of 50 share lots actually. Most of these lots are just crossing. I mean, there's only like what 8 entries here, so yeah, not a whole lot going on for CVS there, despite the major return of cash to shareholders. So that's definitely gonna be one to watch at the open. Gonna get some action there, especially with Rite Aid reporting tomorrow. That's definitely kind of interesting when you've got these different drugstores, Walgreens, Rite Aid, and CVS, not exactly trading in lockstep with each other, but they are peers. So something to kind of take a look at. If CVS is returning this kind of cash to shareholders, what does Rite Aid do, leading into tomorrow's earnings? And then, depending on what those earnings are, how does it, react with the compound there? But
And you know what? Rite Aid shares have traded. We've almost got 50,000 Rite Aid shares traded in the pre-market session.
yeah, that's definitely one that's a much more active trader than CVS in the pre-market. So maybe the action is really coming to Rite Aid here rather than some other rather than CVS where the news actually is.
Right.
Definitely interesting to watch there. Rite Aid is ticking in the green there above 570. Wow, I haven't looked at Rite Aid in a while. Seeing it in the $5 range is pretty interesting. Getting close to that $6 range recently on Tuesday actually. So
Yeah, I mean it does. It seems funny, but it does make sense. Traders definitely more likely to trade something that is under $6 versus something that's nearing $70. Just you're able to get a lot more shares there.
another one I want to grab real quick. We were looking at Apple earlier. It rallied hard, made it above 552 after being as low as 546. I think it's actually below 546. So some of that bearish news that the China mobile deal had not been announced, not necessarily news, but just there wasn't any news that the traders were expecting. It looks like they bid it back up. It's holding that $550 level, which is obviously a psychological whole number there. So keep an eye on Apple. We're going to be watching it throughout the session. Might be getting a little bit of action today, especially on the Fed announcement. But Brent, anything else you want to knock out? I know we've got we're trying to hope get this interview rolling at about 9:15, so we got a couple minutes
Okay.
left. If there's any other tickers you want to dive into real quick.
I know Dennis was looking at LinkedIn a little bit earlier.
Indeed,
Maybe
he
we
was.
maybe we can take a look
I'll
at some
pull
of the
that one up
technicals
real
in
quick.
that. We didn't find any news on LinkedIn despite the movement.
Yeah, it's really pulling down. Broke below that, below 224. It was really fighting with throughout yesterday's session. You had some very thin bids towards the close, and then this morning, it just kind of gapped down, and now it's below 220. So breaking that whole number of 220 and heading lower. Last trade I'm seeing is at 217.94. So still sitting in the red. And we've had a good number of trades this morning on some decent volume. I mean, a lot of these lots are only 100, 200 shares. I see a 20 share lot. That's kind of a 74 share lot. But we do. I mean, we are seeing some serious lots cross. So there is some action here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chart from the end of the day yesterday afternoon. Look at how many touches it got at that 224 level. I mean, it was just kind of flirting with that level, sort of bouncing over, sort of bouncing under, and then at the end of the session yesterday, about 15 minutes before the close, it did start breaking below 224, and you see the follow through this morning. Last trade in LinkedIn at 218. Let me take the chart back just a little bit and see if we got any kind of area you could depend on for some support. Going back to Thursday, 2 weeks ago, it's kind of demonstrating a similar action that it had on that Thursday. It charged through the 220 level, and that's probably why you're seeing that break through 220 this morning. Let me see, what do we got? Maybe like 215. 215 might be your next area of support in LinkedIn. Looks like it held 215 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe four or five times over the last couple months since the end of October.
Definitely something to watch out for there. LinkedIn moving this morning in the pre-market, trying to break through that that 218 there, sitting at 217.99. Just tantalizing the bulls there. But we do have that interview with Scott Moeller coming up, so I think I'm going to pull us off the air for a couple of minutes, take a quick break, get him on the line so that we can get this show on the road. We'll do that interview right up to the market open, maybe slightly past that, and then we'll squawk through the open. So, stand by for a few minutes here, and we'll be back in a few moments.
Hello?
Scott?
Yes.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Okay.
All right, just want to introduce you real quick to Jake over here, the one who will be peppering you with questions for the interview.
Hey, how's it
No
going?
problem at all. Hi, Jake.
So we'll be going live in just a few seconds here, all right?
That's fine.
Awesome.
And we got about a half an hour, right?
We'll probably keep it to about
Welcome back, traders, investors. I'm Jake LeCure. Welcome to Pre-Market Info. For those of you guys just tuning in, with us is Scott Moeller, the Director of M&A Research at the Cass Business School. Scott, how you doing this morning?
Okay. How are you doing this morning?
I'm
Actually,
doing.
it's afternoon over here, I have to admit.
Oh, that right.
Well, that's right, because
Guess-
Scott's over in England, so
Oh, my.
we had some scheduling conflicts when we were putting this together because he's teaching during the day,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
we're wrapping it up at night. But we're
Yeah,
just
but
getting
that's okay.
started here.
Not anymore. They're off on holiday right now.
Oh, very
Alrighty.
nice.
Well,
Yeah, I know. Academic holidays. I should be too.
yeah, I was about to say, wait, why are you at work if everybody else gets a holiday?
Marking papers. Ugh.
That sounds fun.
So why don't you go ahead and give us a little bit of your educational and market background, Scott?
Yeah, although I'm a professor now of finance here at the Cass Business School, not many people know it in the U.S., but where most of your listeners are. But it's one of the top 20 business schools around the world, at least according to the FT. Before that, I've been here about 12, 13 years, but before that, I was at Deutsche Bank, did M&A, corporate finance, and private equity. Before that, I was 12 years with Morgan Stanley all over the world.
Scott?
Yep.
Oh,
Sorry.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Sorry, dropped off a little bit there. Last thing you said was Morgan Stanley?
Morgan Stanley, yeah, and then after Morgan Stanley, before Morgan Stanley, I was there at Booz Allen and Hamilton. So all in all, you kind of add that up, and it's been quite a long time, needless to say. So
No kidding. So what exactly prompted that move from the private sector to more the education side? I mean, is it just
I
interest
have
or?
to admit, I didn't actually plan it. I was asked to do a lecture or two here at actually Cass Business School and also at Oxford, and then when after having done that once or twice, there were a couple people who were saying to me, I'll tell you what, why don't you actually come in and teach one of the classes? And it turned out to be the class on mergers and acquisitions. And then once I started doing that, one thing led to another. And I have to admit, a team of wild horses couldn't pull me back into the, into the business sector. It's great here being here in academia.
Yeah, I was just
So,
about to ask if you had ever considered doing something like that. Now, when you're, I guess this is kind of a little bit off the list, but when you're doing on the academia side, do you do like consulting on the side, or are you just completely focusing on teaching, or how does that work? Because it's always kind of interesting
yeah,
to me.
I do some of that. Not as much as I think a lot of people think that
Hmm.
academics do, because on the academic side, it's really quite nice to be able to focus on that once you actually start into it.
Hmm.
But on occasion, I do get asked to talk to companies about some of the M&A side of things, but it's not like I'm out there sourcing deals these days or anything like that.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely.
Yeah, giving a little insider info, trying to
Yeah,
pocket a little
exactly,
something for yourself on the
exactly.
side.
That I can't do. I always tell my students I can't really be doing that. Actually, one of the things, anyway, is a lot of the students just think that I might be a way to be able to help them get a job. And one of the things I do tell them when they take my mergers and acquisitions class is that if they do go to a Goldman's or they go to a J.P. Morgan or a BAML or one of those, that they'll probably reteach them anyway about the way that they do it. So, but anyway, it's still a lot of fun, and especially now I've been doing it for 12 years. When they all start getting promotions to managing director and so on, it's nice to see them back here. So
Definitely. And I do kind of moving more over to, I guess, the M&A market itself.
absolutely, yeah.
Uh, you know, do you think that like social media plays any kind of role in the M&A market? Does it like help? Is it cause any predictability in it, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And the reason I say that is we happen to be doing a study right now looking at exactly that. And one of the things that seems to be taking place is that we're going to be moving a lot more into sourcing deals through social media.
Really?
Believe it or not, through things like LinkedIn and so on. That's not to say that if one is in one of the big bold bracket investment banks or one of the boutiques, that people are not going to come to you for deals, or you're not going to go out there and actually source deals to clients. And pitch them that way. But we are finding an incredibly strong increase in people trying to contact through that. And it's not just the fact that people like Twitter are announcing the pricing for their IPO, on Twitter, which obviously kind of made sense for them. But we're seeing others really trying to move in that direction as well. Although I will tell you, it's causing the regulators, at least some of the regulators I speak with over here in Europe, some real headaches as to how they're going to be able to monitor that and what that's going to cause in terms of things like insider trading or
Hmm.
leaking of deals and things like that. So
Sure, I can imagine that would be quite a headache. I mean, M&A in general is kind of a headache for regulators. Adding in the social media component has to be absolutely nuts. So, are you following primarily like U.S. markets, or are you doing worldwide?
actually, worldwide. That, that includes the U.S. Obviously, the U.S. is part of the world, and but really try to look on things on a global basis. Let me just come back to that one point about
Sure.
social media and leaks,
Yeah.
because it's really interesting. Because we just recently, in fact, it was sponsored by Intralinks. And we recently did something looking at leaks, and it's amazing to see what's actually happening with leaks. I mean, it used to be that people were thinking that leaks were when somebody left the proverbial book at 2 a.m. in the morning on a taxi cab seat, and suddenly the deal got disclosed in the paper the
Hmm.
next day. But we're finding that leaks, and this is where the social media comes in, are much more deliberate than you would think they would be. Very rarely is a leak, and for M&A deals, leaks are critically important. Really is something where people mean them to happen, and they're trying to do it for their own benefit, or the benefit of the firm that they're representing.
Interesting. So is
Right,
it
so
yeah, is it
like
like
a
oh,
part of a strategy. Sorry, Jake, to talk over you, but you're saying like it's a timed leak and it's part of the plan from the get-go?
Yeah, yeah, well, I don't know if it's planned from the get-go. In fact, actually, what we found when we were doing the research on this is that um, well, first off, we found that there were rarely any leaks when the due diligence process was going on. And that what ended up happening is that you actually even had to wait until about 40 days, so slightly more than a month, from when people really started doing due diligence with each other to when you had leaks. So it appears not to be part of the strategy. What it appears more to be is that when something is not going in one company's way or the other, that they see it as being a benefit to get the deal out there in the public, either to try to rustle some other buyers out of the bushes, either to try to stop the deal if, in fact, things aren't going quite the way they wanted to, because sometimes with leaked deals, um, that might stop the deal from taking place
hmm
because one of the parties didn't want the deal to leak. In fact, we did find that again in the study that we did with Intralinks, we found that 80% of deals that leaked never completed, so never went to closing. whereas 88% of deals that didn't leak did go to closing. And that's a
Interesting.
pretty big difference.
I can definitely imagine, maybe even on the company that's being acquired. Let's say you're a hedge fund manager and you're owning a bunch of shares there. Maybe you would nudge an employee to leak the details of the acquisition to try and get the price higher, or to try and keep it from happening if that's not the price that you want to get.
Yeah,
I could,
exactly. Or to try to get more buyers to come into the deal who might not have known about it before, that may not have been on your short list of potential acquirers, so that you really get an auction going.
Absolutely. Now, you obviously have your fingers on the pulse of the M&A market. Do you see more deals in the near future coming in from the U.S. or abroad? What are you thinking on that side?
I think when we're looking at 2014, and probably most of the people who are listening are more concerned about that,
Hmm.
than what's happening in 2020 or what have you.
Right.
Although I'm happy to talk about both. But we see the U.S. really leading the way in the markets in 2014. The U.S. I mean, this is probably not a surprise to anybody who's listening. The U.S. is really driving forward in terms of economic recovery from the recession, much ahead of the rest of the world. I mean, all you have to do is come over here to Europe and see that it's not quite as bullish as the United States is. And we've recently done a study looking also at Africa and Asia, and they're not quite motoring along in the same way as the U.S. And I think the U.S. will therefore dominate a lot of what's happening in M&A in 2014, either as a buyer, and that may be buyers globally looking outward, or even as an inward, and of course the domestic market on that. That's not to say that there aren't some pretty interesting other places. I mean, when we were looking at Africa, for example, just going on that, we found South Africa, Mozambique, and Kenya kind of spearheading, the charge of African nations. We found Colombia to be quite attractive for a large number of factors. Over in Asia, China for the first time on our own list, because we look at countries in terms of their attractiveness, made it into the top 10. And interestingly enough, Japan dropping out of it. So China kind of replacing Japan, albeit not in a one-for-one replacement, but China going up, Japan coming down. And then interestingly enough, even in the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates, especially with a lot of what they're trying to do in technology and education, making it possible for a lot more deals to take place, and a much more benign regulatory environment than what they had before.
Definitely.
So anyway,
Yeah.
lots of things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not, I mean, there's 140 countries out there. I could talk about each one, and I know you don't want me to do that. Yeah, there's some pretty interesting things happening outside the U.S. Although, as I said, coming back to my original point, I think if you had to focus on anywhere in 2014, it would be in the U.S. So.
So I guess if you're looking at the M&A market as a whole in 2014, do you think it's going to be a stronger M&A market? I mean, not just the U.S. but worldwide. Is it going to be a stronger M&A market than we saw in 2013? Do you think it's going to pull back a little bit? What do you thinking there?
Are you going to record this and play it back for me in a year to see whether I'm right or wrong? No, but seriously, it's interesting on that point. There were by the time we get to the end of December, so in another week or two, there will have been probably 2.2 or 2.3 trillion dollars worth of deals announced in 2013. I mean, I'm not expecting that number to change much. And the interesting thing is for the last 5 years, it's been between 2 and 3 trillion. And that's down from 2007, which was at 4.3, and a pretty significant decline. But we plateaued at that 2.2, 2.3 level, for the past 5 years. I don't see that changing, and that's not just me looking in the rearview mirror, but as I say, because one of the things that we do here in the M&A Research Center is we spend a lot of time, trying to look at what's driving the market. And although one can be quite bullish looking at the U.S., we're seeing some retrenchment in other areas, even though, as I mentioned earlier, there's some pockets that might be more attractive elsewhere. But I don't see much change in that number. Then again, I also would caution you, and anyone else listening, to think of that as being Armageddon. I mean, yes, it's not 4.3 trillion that we had back in 2007, but M&A deal activity of 2.3 trillion is, still a very big volume, and companies still need to do deals in order to be able to stay competitive.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess, whenever we're talking to an expert in any sector, we want to kind of, dive into, what they're seeing out there. So hearing what your thoughts are for the M&A market in 2014 is fantastic. Do you have any specific sectors or possibly even specific companies that you're watching right now? I mean, I know we kind of focus on the United States, but I mean, if there's anything out there like specific sector or even specific companies that you think are either targets or could be, huge players in the M&A market, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, and I guess actually just again because of who most of your listeners are,
Hmm.
let me actually focus on the U.S. there on that.
Awesome.
I think we'll continue to see a lot of activity in telecoms. The retail sector is really hotting up right now,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of private equity and financial sponsor backed deals in the U.S. that are just itching to get done. And most of the time, you're going to get a better valuation. You're going to get a better exit value by doing a trade sale into somebody who actually wants it as part of their strategic business and selling it to another financial investor. And we're seeing that. And then the other part that a lot of people aren't talking about, is the manufacturing industrial side of things. So those three, I think, with the latter one being probably more of a surprise. But by saying that, I also don't want to say that that there's not going to be good activity in some of the other sectors. Although we don't see pharma, as we kind of try to gaze into our crystal ball being as strong as it was, in the past several years. I'd stay away from aerospace at the moment. So there's some sectors that I don't think look particularly attractive on the M&A side. I mean, of course, Boeing's going to announce a deal tomorrow and prove me wrong, but it's that's not a prediction, by the way. But but just to say that generally speaking, overall, if you look at the next 12 months, those are the ones I'd look at.
Definitely. Well, I really do appreciate you joining us, Scott. I hate to cut this off, but we did just get the market open, and I know that
Gotcha.
our
I know you
traders
got to
gonna be
open the market.
our
Yep.
traders gonna be jumping up and down if we're not broadcasting about that. But again, thank you for joining us, Scott. This has been awesome. We're gonna have to do this again sometime, and see what you're thinking for the M&A markets. So thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Jake, and happy to come back again.
All right, awesome.
Cheers. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, traders and investors, welcome back. That was Scott Moeller, a professor over at the Cass School of Business, giving us some rundown of what he sees in the M&A market for 2014.
That was kind of fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Great.
It's really cool.
I was kind of disappointed we had to cut it off so soon, but we do have the market opening, so I'm going to hop back into some of the indexes real quick and see what kind of action we are getting. Let's see, let's do the S&P futures. We do have them at 1776. Moving up a little bit higher. We kind of taken up this morning, taking it over to gold to see how it's running there. See what's going on this morning.
Gold, we got 1233.40.
Yeah,
Does that sound right?
Yeah, my gold futures quote got kind of screwed up there. Sounds about right though. And then let's see what crude oil is doing real quick too, and grab that one for you guys. Keep mistyping tickers here, getting used to this platform. Seeing crude oil sitting at 97.90. Once getting closer to that $98 level. Kind of an interesting little battle there.
That's up about 0.5% for the session.
Absolutely. So definitely want to kind of take a look at things there. So keep an eye on those indexes. Kind of zooming out to the rest of the major indexes. Give you guys a quick update there. We got the S&P 500 up about 0.9%. Dow Jones is up about 0.21%, while the Nasdaq is up 0.03%. So very small tick upwards there. Like I said, crude oil is up, as is gold. So keep an eye on those indexes. With the Fed action today, we've got a lot going on. Brent, do we have any economic reports coming up this morning that we should be on the lookout for since the market's just opened here?
We did get those housing numbers a little bit earlier. I don't remember you squawking those. I don't see anything this morning. All I see is the rate decision at 2 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty quiet on the econ front, but remember we do have jobless claims coming out tomorrow. Also going to get the Philly Fed business outlook at 10 a.m. tomorrow morning. And then continuing on the home building sector, we're going to get existing home sales for November, I believe it is, tomorrow at 10 a.m. Street's looking for over 5 million annual rate there. Also going to get a reading on leading indicators for November at 10 a.m. tomorrow.
Interestingly enough, we had obviously Lennar, reporting this morning. I'll pull up that chart since they gave us a bullish report both on top and bottom line. Of course, I messed up the ticker again. It's just not my day apparently. And then apparently
Maybe it's
We're
just
gonna-
that seat at the desk, like you've got
you know what?
Joel. You're
yeah.
channeling Joel right
There we
now.
go. It only took me 5 tries to get a ticker right. Jeez, I'm having trouble on my own platform. But we do have Lennar sitting above that $36 level. A lot of trading going on here in Lennar. It did tick up. Yesterday we closed near $35, so kind of eyeing that $37 level that it bounced off of earlier. So keep an eye on that one. We did get those housing numbers this morning and more housing numbers tomorrow. I want to take a look at some of the other home builders, including KB Homes.
KB will be reporting
KBH.
tomorrow, right?
Reporting tomorrow. Really interesting. So these home builders are kind of reporting in a cluster here. KB Homes sitting at almost a high this morning of 1750 right now. Seeing some bullish trades. A lot of bids sitting right below 1750, 1748 and 1746 is what I'm seeing. So keep an eye on that. Definitely want to keep an eye on the home builders. Going to move over to the XHB. That is the home builders ETF. Sitting at 31.53, so it did gap up a little bit this morning. Closed yesterday just below 31.10, probably closer to, I guess it's 31.08 maybe is what I'm seeing there. So 31.51, a little bit of a tick up this morning in the home builder ETF. Backing out to the daily chart there, it seems to be on a little bit of an upswing recently. Definitely support a little bit above 30.50 there. So going to keep an eye on some of the home builders this morning.
I think it was a interesting bit of consolidation yesterday in KBH. I'm looking at the chart from the close yesterday to about 1 p.m. It was trading under 17 bucks, kind of moved over that level and then wanted to come back down, and then right at the close there, about 20 minutes before the close, it popped over that 17 level, and it's continuing higher today. It's 1762. We're now flirting with that session high.
Absolutely, just definitely got to keep an eye on all those home builders. I also want to take a look at Apple this morning. We did have that tick down earlier, so we're on the daily chart right now. I definitely want to move to the intraday. Sitting above that 550 level, bounced off the lows of around 546 this morning and came up. We're having a lot of action this morning, a lot of smaller bids here. That the news of China Mobile doesn't seem to be hurting the stock too much. Yes, we had a little bit of a close around yesterday. It was
554.70 ish.
Okay.
A little bit.
So still about $4 below yesterday's close. Got to keep an eye on Apple here, and I know that we've got a lot of traders out there moving it, especially we get the Fed announcement coming up, so this could be another component to take a look at.
Looks like 548 wants to hold here. There's not a ton of resistance up to 554. It looks like a lot of air between the level we're at right now and about 554. The stock was trading for the first 2 hours in last night's post-market session above that, and then took out that level, and now we are around 540, just broke below 549 actually.
Absolutely, broke below that 550 level and looks like it's sitting at 549. So got to keep an eye on that. Do want to check out CVS this morning with returning all that cash to shareholders. I've been really interested to see what this market open chart looks like, and there it goes, moving to the upside. We had a close yesterday of a little bit below 67 bucks. We're seeing it at 67.88 as the last trade. A lot of strength this morning. CVS bidding up. They had that $6 billion buyback, an increase in dividend, and a raised guidance. You can't get a whole lot more positive than that if you're CVS, unless maybe you're saying you're going to raise your guidance for the next 3 years, not just the next quarter. But so definitely some good news from CVS. Seeing it at 67.90. Maybe it's going to test that $68 level. So keep an eye on CVS.
Hey, a little bit earlier, Chelsea wanted us to take a look at BioCrest. That is Bravo Charlie Romeo X-ray company. Earlier,
sitting below that, just kind of looking at it right now. It's been touching that $7 level, just kind of disregarding news. What did you say you had? You said something that happened with that earlier?
There was a news item, says selects 2 plasma kallikrein inhibitors for hereditary angioedema into preclinical development. Apparently good news out of BioCrest there.
Sounds like word salad to me, but then again, I'm no PhD here.
We're up about 7.5%, and you're right. It does look like $7 is going to be an area of trouble for bulls here. 6.96 right now,
very briefly broke above that $7
Yeah,
level, and then it just, I mean,
right back down.
it was maybe one bid and then just dropped right below it. So whoever wants to sell it seems to be liking that $7 level. Maybe there's a lot of stops sitting in there. I mean, it's got a nice little rally here, but it doesn't seem to be wanting to get above that 694.99's last trade that I'm seeing. A massive, massive 3,100 share block. I know that doesn't sound huge, but when you're looking at a ton of 100 share orders, that's actually pretty big. There's a 2,500 there. So a lot of orders at 692, it would seem. So very interesting to see how that's kind of laying out. Definitely want to go into one of the pure plays of CVS, though. Rite Aid, we saw it showing some strength this morning in the pre-market. It's actually giving up some of that ground, seeing it at 571 right now. Reached a high, just touching that 575 this morning was the high. So coming back down a little bit. Looks like it's holding the 570 level. Brent, are there any other movers out there that you want to take a look at? I don't want to just steamroll any of your picks.
Oh, you're steamrolling me, buddy.
So I want to make sure that, you know, sometimes I get so caught up in diving into these movers.
Kid in a candy store.
Yeah, no kidding. It's the market gets me, you know, all excited. So I don't know, anything over there you're wanting to take a look at right now?
Something interesting. I'm seeing shares of LinkedIn resume right now. That was at 9:38, just about I don't know 40 seconds ago. Apparently the stock wasn't trading.
It got halted?
It wasn't halted.
Is it circuit breaker?
No. It was an order imbalance. So I guess the specialist just sort of couldn't.
Seeing the last trade was in the 213s. Now it's in the 214. So it is dipping down even farther. Definitely get some action here. A lot of movement. So LinkedIn, Lima, November, Kilo, Delta for anyone following along on their own charts. Definitely interesting there. Big 2,000 share order right there.
Do you see a low at 208.87?
Yeah,
Is that the low you see?
Yeah, it looks almost like an algorithmic spike or something like that. But yeah, we're still on that same candle. It's just a wick down there.
I wonder if there was some kind of imbalance there, and there was a bear that just sort of took advantage of that and cropped it down to under the 209. It popped really quickly right after that.
Anyone that bought that's liking it right now because it's up almost $4
nice
from there.
Nice like $5-6 rally off that low.
Absolutely. Another one that we should probably take a look at is FedEx. They did report earnings this morning. Major economic indicator there being one of the transports.
Yep.
Foxtrot, Delta, X-Ray. Seeing last trades, it's still trading in the 137 range. It did bounce off of 139 this morning after hitting an all-time high yesterday, slightly above 140. So kind of trading around right now, sticking above that $137 level. Brent, any thoughts on FedEx here? You know, the report, I know it was, you know, is kind of mixed. They raised their guidance slightly, nothing crazy. Was there anything else that you pulled out of that report that seemed, you know, interesting at all that maybe could give us some insight into what the transports are seeing or what they're thinking about, you know, consumer behavior right now?
If you ask me, I like the action that I'm seeing right here. I mean, it hit a pre-market low at 134 and now it's almost up to 138. So I mean, it maybe was a little worse than feared at first, and now it's kind of popping. I'm a little distracted here. The IPO for AMC Entertainment just opened. I'm trying to break this news right now on the pro feed. 1918 ticker Alpha Mike Charlie AMC Entertainment, priced at $18 per share, opening about $1.20 higher.
Yeah, there it goes. Let's see if as you said, it's AMCX Alpha Mike Charlie X-Ray.
AMCX is the kind of media branch of AMC. So
okay.
They're doing cable, different kinds of programming. AMC, I know they own. Sundance, I know they own. AMC Entertainment, this is like the actual theaters. That's Alpha Mike Charlie.
Right.
Take off the X.
Just anytime I pull up these IPO charts, it's just kind of silly because I'm just like watching one gigantic block.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to see the prices go through here. Seeing 1950 seems to be kind of
we're following through
here. Yeah, it kind of bounces up off that 1960. I saw it get as high as just below 20 and then came back down. So this is going to be one to watch today. I know that the CNBC is having the CEO on, obviously, with their since they're IPOing. So it should be interesting to see what they pull off here. But definitely another strong IPO. We've had a lot of strong IPOs this fall, actually, Brent. I mean, wouldn't you say 75% of them bid up right after they priced it and maybe opened at 20% higher than
75%?
I don't know, maybe that's not that high. I don't know. It seemed like
I don't think that's that crazy. I mean,
okay.
no, I'd say definitely the large majority of these IPOs have been performing strong. I haven't followed through with all of them to see if there has been some continuation strength there. But yeah, for the most part, the IPO market has been really strong, and I think you and I like to talk about the sort of trend towards a ton of offerings, secondary offerings right now, a ton of dividend raises right now, and I think that this strong IPO market also sort of plays into that kind of theme that maybe the markets are a little toppy right now. If you use that as a proxy, it
Mhm.
sort of seems like I'm kind of waiting for at least a little pullback.
Well, Brent, I think we got time for one more ticker before we sign off the
Okay.
show. Any last words you want to sign off with? Any
Let's
last
see.
ticker you want to dive into?
I just had a user chatting and asking me about Micron.
Micron, we did
Yeah.
see a little bit. I think it was a little bit of weakness this morning. Mike Uniform for everybody that's watching along on their own charts. So yeah, we did have some weakness this morning. It looks like it's kind of following through. Did have a candle below 21.80, sitting at 22.22 is the last time I saw. So it's holding above the $22 level here. Lots of trading going on, lots of volume in Micron. Brett, do we have any news? Was it an analyst report or anything like that?
I don't see. Let's see. You know what? Actually, earlier there was a Deutsche Bank analyst that had downgraded the entire chip sector, and what did they do? Added. I'm trying to remember what the Deutsche Bank select list is called. They added Intel to a select list there.
Gotcha.
I think what's moving Micron this morning is that late last night, SK Hynix, which is one of the top competitors there, said that they were planning a new DRAM factory.
Gotcha.
So we got Micron, MU, we got SanDisk, Sandy November, Delta Kilo, and then SK Hynix are kind of like the major players in this space right here.
All right, I got you. Well, with that, I think we're just about out of time. S&P 500 is up about 0.16%. Dow Jones up 0.31%. Nasdaq was in the red briefly there. It is roughly flat now. It looks like Apple's kind of holding down the Nasdaq. You got gold up 0.27% to 1233.40, and crude oil up 0.14%, still below that $98 level. So we will be watching those today. Thank you for joining us, traders and investors. We will see you again tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. sharp. I want to thank OptionsHouse for letting us have this show, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Good luck and happy trading. Talk to you later.